Welcome, my curious friends. Tonight, we embark on a tale of whimsy and consequence. You see, our story concerns a boy, a rather troublesome boy named Finley Gray. Young Finley had a knack for mischief and a peculiar disregard for the feelings of others. One could say he behaved as though the world was his personal plaything. But what happens when the tables turn? When the mischief maker becomes the victim of his own folly? Enter a wizard. Not the kindly sort, mind you, the one preferred to deal in lessons rather than leniency. With a flick of his staff and a flash of golden light, our young Finley found himself not a boy, but a cat, a creature of 9 lives, each one a chance to learn the lessons he so desperately needed. But beware, 9 lives may seem generous until you start losing them. Shall we begin? The 9 Lives of Finley Gray. Finley's troubles began on the cobbled streets of the small town of Greystone. At just 12 years old, he was known far and wide as a prankster, a scoundrel who delighted in tormenting the local baker, tying knots in the milkmaid's apron strings, and setting traps for unsuspecting townsfolk. He never stopped to consider the hurt he caused, only the laughter it brought him. One fateful evening, as Finley wandered the woods outside town, he came upon a peculiar figure. The wizard, cloaked in emerald robes, stood beside an ancient oak, observing Finley with a disapproving gaze. "Young man," said the wizard, "do you ever tire of your cruel games?" Finley smirked. "Why should I? It's just a bit of fun." The wizard frowned. "Fun for you, perhaps, but tell me, Finley, what would you do if the world no longer played along?" Before Finley could respond, the wizard raised his staff, a golden light enveloped the boy, and in an instant he was no longer himself. Gone were his limbs, his voice, and his mischievous smirk. He was now a sleek orange cat, his amber eyes wide with confusion. 9 lives, Finley," the wizard said as he disappeared into the night. 9 chances to understand what it means to live with care. Use them wisely. Life 1. The Chase. The moment Finley opened his feline eyes, he was startled by his new perspective. Lower to the ground, senses heightened, the world smelled richer, every sound sharp and invasive, but he barely had time to adjust before a low growl broke the silence. A pack of stray dogs had caught his scent. They lunged, their snarls filling the alley. Panicking, Finley sprinted, his heart pounding as he darted around corners and leapt over barrels. No matter how fast he ran, they were faster. A narrow escape through a broken fence saved him, but not before one dog's teeth grazed his tail. Gasping for breath, he hid in a pile of refuse, shaking from the adrenaline. He had never felt such helplessness. In that dark alley, he began to understand what it meant to feel small and hunted, a lesson he'd never considered as a boy. Life 2. The Lonely Hearth. Weary from the chase, Finley found himself drawn to the soft glow of a hearth. He crept into the home of a kind widow, who gasped upon seeing the scraggly orange cat. "Oh, you poor thing!" she murmured, setting out a bowl of milk and a blanket by the fire. For weeks she nursed him back to health. At first, Finley was content, basking in the warmth and care. But he soon noticed how often the widow would sit in silence, staring at a faded photograph on the mantel. Her only company was the tick of the clock and his quiet purrs. For the first time, Finley understood loneliness, not just as solitude, but as an ache for something lost. It made him ache in turn. Life 3. Pounce Gone Wrong. As Finley roamed the countryside, he spotted a plump mouse scurrying through a field. Starving and emboldened, he crouched, his tail flicking with anticipation. He had seen cats hunt before. It didn't look that hard. He pounced, but miscalculated. His claws caught air, and he tumbled awkwardly down a steep hill. He landed in a tangle of brambles, his body broken. As his vision faded, the lesson struck him with clarity. Even the most confident can fall, and life, no matter how assured, can be fleeting. Life 4. The Stray's Wisdom. Finley's fourth life began in the shadowy alleys of Greystone, where he met Jasper, an old tomcat with one ear and countless scars. Jasper scoffed at Finley's naivety and took him under his wing. "Life ain't kind, kid," Jasper rasped. "You gotta learn to listen, watch, and wait. Patience wins the day." Through Jasper, Finley learned the value of observation and restraint. He watched how Jasper negotiated food from humans, avoided danger, and earned the respect of other strays. The lessons weren't flashy, but they were profound. Life 5. The Fire. One cold night, Finley stumbled upon a barn filled with hay and warmth. But as he settled in, he heard faint cries. Following the sound, he found a litter of kittens trapped in a corner, surrounded by flames. Smoke choked the air, and the fire crackled with menacing heat. Without hesitation, Finley darted through the flames, nudging the kittens toward safety. His fur singed, his lungs burned, but he managed to save them. As the barn collapsed, his life ended in the blaze. In his final moments, he felt a surge of pride. He had given himself for others, something he'd never thought he was capable of. Life 6. The Abandoned Kitten. In his sixth life, Finley came across a small, shivering kitten abandoned in an alley. Remembering the widow's kindness and Jasper's wisdom, he took the kitten under his care. He taught it to find food, avoid dangers, and navigate the streets. Though it was exhausting, he felt an unexpected joy in the kitten's growth. He realized the weight of responsibility, not as a burden, but as a gift. Life 7. The Forgiveness of the Baker. In his seventh life, Finley returned to Greystone. He saw the baker, a man he had often tormented as a boy, struggling to protect his flour sacks from a horde of rats. Without hesitation, Finley leaped into action, chasing the rats away. The baker, astonished, bent down and stroked Finley's fur. "Thank you, little one," he said softly. For the first time, Finley felt the warmth of forgiveness and the satisfaction of mending what was broken. Life 8. The Final Sacrifice. In his eighth life, Finley came across a child lost in the woods. As he led the boy back to safety, a wild fox attacked. Without thinking, Finley lunged at the fox, fighting fiercely to protect the boy. Though he lost his life in the struggle, the boy was saved. Finley's sacrifice was not just an act of courage, but a culmination of all he had learned: empathy, responsibility, and selflessness. And now, we arrive at the 9th and final chapter of young Finley's journey. 8 lives spent learning lessons of empathy, sacrifice, and humility. But will it be enough? After all, a single life remains, and with it, the greatest question of all. Has he truly changed? Or has this merely been an elaborate game of survival? Let's find out, shall we? Life 9. The Choice. When Finley awoke in his 9th life, he found himself back in the woods before the wizard. The old man's eyes glinted with curiosity. "Well, Finley, have you learned what it means to live with care?" The cat bowed his head. "Yes, I understand now. Life isn't just about what you take, but what you give. And if I'm to live as a boy again, I want to do so with a kinder heart." The wizard smiled and raised his staff. In a flash, Finley was human once more, but his heart was forever changed. Returning to Greystone, he made amends for his past pranks, helped the widow, and even became the baker's apprentice. And so, dear viewers, young Finley returned to Greystone, not as a mischievous prankster, but as a boy who had seen life through 9 very different lenses. He learned the lesson of his 9 lives, that living for oneself is easy, but living for others is what truly gives life meaning. A happy ending, to be sure. But remember, not all lessons come so kindly. He became a helper, a protector, a friend, a boy who finally understood the value of compassion. Of course, we can't be certain if the wizard is truly gone. After all, there are plenty of Finleys out there in need of a little adjustment. Perhaps one day the lesson will come to you. Until then, tread carefully, my friends, and use your 9 lives wisely.